Hello folks, and welcome to this week's Hi-Fi news, etc. And of course there'll be some Hi-Fi news, and I'll give you a hint and tip. But first, trivia. Now we're going to change the subject and we're going to, well, what can I call it? Hospitality management. Yes, that's what I'll call this particular theme. Hospitality management. Now this question is for the cognoscenti, I would say. This is for people who really know their music, and maybe more than that, the background culture of music. Because this one is all about hotels. Question is this: what cities are these famous rock and roll hotels situated in? A. The Gramercy Park Hotel. B. The Sunset Marquis. And C. The Columbia Hotel. One more time. What cities are these famous rock and roll hotels situated in? The Gramercy Park Hotel, the Sunset Marquis, and the Columbia Hotel. Please, as ever, don't do any Googling, any of that nonsense, just have a little think. It could be a tough one for many people out there, but I wanted to test you this time. I wanted to really test your knowledge, have a little think. At the end of the video, I will give you some answers. Until then, Hi-Fi News. And we're beginning with a cable, black rhodium and the Charleston. Now, it's been a while since I looked at anything black rhodium. Haven't done a review of any black rhodium cables for a little while. Used to do quite a lot. These things kind of happen, you know, it's no particular reason, they just kind of happen. Anyway, let's get back into the black rhodium swing with a news item. Now, this is a new range, but not all of the cables have been released within that range. I think these speaker cables are the first to arrive, and other items will be released very soon, I am sure. Anyway, this, as I say, is the company's flagship product. So these cables, handmade in Derby in the UK. These cables include rhodium plated connectors. They have been cryogenically treated. There are also large ferrites to reduce noise, despite the fact that when I was making the notes for this particular Hi-Fi news, etc., my spell checker insisted on calling these ferrites ferrets. Let me reassure you, there are no ferrets included in the box of these black rhodium cables, and I'm sure they would charge more if that was the case. Anyway, in addition to all of that, the whole thing is covered in a braided screen to reduce vibration. It's had lots of attention, and as you can imagine, the price is sky high. Expensive, folks. £5,000 for a pair of 3-meter cables. If you shop around, I'm sure you can get them cheaper, but not that much, hey? Next, we have SONUS FABER from Italy and the Sonetto G2 collection, featuring 7 new speakers designed to be organic, I suppose you might say, in shape and devoid of regular interior walls. All to do, I'm sure you've heard this before, all to do with cutting down standing waves. Also featured are the Camellia, I think it's the Camellia mid-range speaker units, left unpainted, says the company, to ensure 100% sound purity. That's a new angle for me, where speaker units are left unpainted to increase sound quality. Never heard that before. Have you ever heard that before? If you have, please let me know in the comments below. Unpainted driver units. It's a thing, apparently. New for me. Tell me your experiences, if you have any speakers with unpainted. Anyway, I'm going on a bit, but it just kind of hit me, you know what I mean? Anyway, in addition to that, the mid-bass units and the bass units, which have paper cones, these units feature a sort of floral pattern surround, and yeah, there's an aesthetic thing going on, but apparently, again, in sonic terms, it helps to reduce interference, apparently, and increase linear range. The lute shape of the speakers apparently optimizes sound dispersion in and of themselves, and these things are weighty beasts because they feature a new concrete base. Of course, that's going to add stability, but apparently again it adds to the improved vibration management. As far as the tweet is concerned, it's a Silk Dome DAD, and as you well know, DAD stands for Damped Apex Dome technology. Inside, you've got a crossover, as you would expect, including the phase coherence crossover technology for, says the company, precise synchronization of the driver's phase rotations. What does all that do? Apparently it helps the soundstage. And this list, well, it kind of goes on and on and on and on. And I would be here for about an hour if I was going to list all of these features and improvements. There's a lot. Anyway, I've given you the gist. I hope you agree with that. Prices, well, again, this is a range, so there are a lot. And I will put the whole thing up in one go and you can have a peruse. By all means, pause the video, have a good study and digest, etc. Next, we have a cartridge story from Denon and also a blokey story by the name of Devon. So, Denon and Devon. As for Devon, or Devon Turnbull, that's his name, Devon Turnbull. He's known for creating home hi-fi units for the rich and famous, celebs, all that kind of thing. Also, retail spaces. He runs a company called, well, is it just OJAS or OJAS? Or OJAS, I don't know. OJAS is what I'm going to call them. Well, call it the company. It also builds big boxy speakers. You'll find large horn attachments to the top. These things can be bought as kits, apparently. I don't know too much about the company, I've got to say. I only know little bits and pieces. I'll put some links below if you want to do more studying. Well, now, Turnbull, he's cuddled up to Denon because that company, they're looking for an uplift in the moving coil phono cartridge. They're very famous, DL103. The latest iteration is the R model, the DL103R. Well, Devon's turned up and he's tweaked the R. In terms of pricing for the current R, I think you're looking at about $499, £339, I think it is. Well, Devon Turnbull has tweaked this particular cartridge in aesthetic terms, I think you might say. I'm not sure you would say there's any increase in the sonics, but it's changed the looks. Basically, you've got this limited edition version called the DL103O, and basically it's transparent and you can see all the inner circuitry, and that's about it. That's about it, basically. The basic cartridge is, well, is as is. It's a moving coil, has a conical tip. Basically, the history of the 103 is it's been around since, what, 1962? And it was aimed initially at broadcast, sorts of broadcast companies, radio stations, etc. And it weighs about 8.5 I'm going to say kilograms. It's not quite that heavy. 8.5 grams, and uses copper coils and all that kind of stuff. Now, because it's limited edition and there's been a bit of artistic work placed upon it, it's a little bit dearer. I haven't got a pound price for this. I have got a dollar price. So I said earlier on the R is $499. The O is $599. So you're paying an extra $100 for the see-through version, as it were. So my guess, £339, $439 for the O, possibly? Pure guess, no idea. But keep an eye out. Anyway, next. and we are on to TEAC and the UD507. Now, there's a bit of a thing, I would say. Maybe it's just me and the hardware I have seen, but I recognize a bit of a thing for compact units that serve as headphone amplifiers, but they also include a DAC and they include a preamp. I have stumbled over a few of these things. I've reviewed a couple of them recently. The UD507, it uses a balanced dual mono headphone amplifier featuring TEAC's HCLD2, which means the TEAC high current line driver. The power amplifier gain switch can be moved between 3 positions, low, medium, and high, surprise. And the preamp itself features, again, TEAC's QVCS. They love their acronyms. This one stands for Quad Volume Control System, supporting up to 32-bit 384 or 22.5 MHz DSD via the USB DAC. You get 5 digital inputs. That's a USB-B on the rear, a C on the front, coax, optical, Bluetooth, and you get 2 analog inputs, RCA and XLR, and you get a full MQA decoder. And that decoder supports all digital inputs except Bluetooth. And speaking of Bluetooth, that has all the usual codecs, including aptX HD and LDAC. Price, I have a real price, which is $2,099, and that equates to a kind of fairy tale price of £1,650, but that might not be the price when distribution and shipping is factored in. It might be a bit more than that, but that's the sort of equivalent, you might say. And that, folks, and that seemed to finish pretty quickly, didn't it? That is the HiFi news. Let's do a hint, a tip. Now, I may even make a more detailed, involved feature or even video about this particular topic, possibly. So you're getting an exclusive on this, a bit of a sneaky peek, you might say. This is just a quick overview, though, to get the message out there. Now, I have noted, or I have seen for those who run a degritter ultrasonic cleaner, that there are issues for some people who find that the machine will run hot and maybe even shut down after cleaning several discs on the run, one after another, without a break in between. That is, as each disc is cleaned, the temperature of the water and the machine itself rises steadily. And that happens with ultrasonic machines. That's because of the basic cavitation action. You're agitating the water, you're creating tiny bubbles, but when you're agitating water, you're kind of boiling it, you're increasing the temperature, because after all, that's what the kettle does. It agitates the water, increases the temperature, and that's how you get a cup of tea. So when some people clean their discs in a degritter or any ultrasonic cleaner, they'll take one out, they'll plop another one in, and there'll be a pile of 25 they're going to do there and then, folks. And then the temperature will increase. Now, a lot of people who do that obviously will not allow for cool down in between, and that temperature will hit a peak and the degritter will complain, and they ask advice from the company degritter itself, and degritter will say, well, use it in a cool room or fill the bath with ice cubes and all that kind of advice to try and cool the water and try and lower the temperature. Let me say this. I have never, not once, had the temperature issue. I have never had my degritter fail me in any way. I have never had a complaint from that machine. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I use a degritter as a tool only, instead of how some people use a degritter or any ultrasonic cleaner. They use it as a kind of silver bullet. That is, my degritter is but one of what? Oh, I don't know. A dozen or so tools and liquids that I use to clean each and every record. I follow, you won't be surprised to hear, my own cleaning system. I have links on my website. If you want links, I will post links below. I might just do that anyway, actually. So let's say I've just cleaned the record and the temperature's gone up a little bit. I grab a second record, and like the first one, what I do is this. So if you look at the link, you'll see the whole process in gory detail. But just to paraphrase, I will pick up my record, the dirty record to be cleaned. I will take a bottle of diluted surfactant, mixed already with glycol, shaken, not stirred, and I will take a pipette of all of that liquid, and I will spread that pipette's liquid all over the A side of an album, let's say. Then I will grab a kabuki brush, and I will use that kabuki brush on the surface of the vinyl in a spiral action, clockwise and then anti-clockwise. And that particular kabuki will help to push the liquid into the grooves to get as close as possible to the actual vinyl. And you've got all kinds of surface tension to overcome. That's why it's pushed into the grooves. The guide tells you more. Basically, that's what you do. And then I flip over the LP and I do that all over again to the B-side. And by that time, if I've just previously cleaned another record, the degritter has cooled sufficiently. Now, constant record cleaning in this manner will result in you never having temperature problems with a degritter or any other ultrasonic cleaner. Constant record cleaning in this manner will also result in cleaner records, because the degritter, despite being the best ultrasonic cleaner on the planet, as I say, is not a silver bullet. It only goes so far on its own. Any ultrasonic cleaner only goes so far on their own. None of them will do the job properly, well, in my head, properly, all on their own. No machine of whatever technology can do that job on their own. You have to add a surfactant combo. You need those other tools like my kabuki brush, for example. And you, just as a by the by, need to add a smidgen of alcohol in the bath. But like I say, that's by the by. Anyway, you add all that together and the result will be a better clean, a more efficient clean. Now, I've spent years doing the A/B tests, and for that matter, the CD tests. And if you want to go any further, I've done the AC tests and the BD tests. I've been there forever. I'm sick and tired of doing tests on these ultrasonics. That's how much testing I have done. Now, my system, even if I do say so myself, and I certainly do, is a win-win. Why? Well, using my own vinyl cleaning system not only protects your degritter, well, any ultrasonic cleaner, they all increase in temperature, all of them. It's the nature of the process because of cavitation, as I say. So my system not only protects your ultrasonic cleaner then, extending its useful life, but also better cleans your records, giving you a better listening experience. So, as you might expect, I deserve a medal. What do you reckon? A medal? Okay, right. Pack of the Smarties then. I'll settle for Smarties. And that's it, folks. Thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. And before we go, I'll give you an answer to that rather heavy-duty trivia question. Here you go. To remind you, the question is, what cities are these famous rock and roll hotels situated in? A, the Gramercy Park Hotel. B, the Sunset Marquis. C, the Columbia Hotel, and the answer is the Gramercy Park Hotel is in New York, the Sunset Marquis in Los Angeles, and the Columbia Hotel is not in Columbia, it's in London. The Gramercy Park Hotel, as I say, in New York, that was a magnet for bands on the way up. Nowadays, it can only be afforded by bands who are already at the top of their game. The Sunset Marquis is in Hollywood, so you can just imagine, can't you? And the Columbia Hotel in Lancaster Gate in London, well, that used to be the rock and roll hotel in the early 80s. So now you know. Thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. Much appreciate all of your support. Of course, I say it often because it is true. So thank you again, folks. Very much appreciated. I'll be back next week with another one of those. Same place, same day, don't know about same time. Things happen, life happens. Anyway, always be a Friday. I know that much. So I'll see you next Friday. Thank you again, folks. Bye-bye for now.